In a peaceful Boston residence, one mother's life is about to be disrupted by a gift with a sinister secret. Will Lisa Turner discover the truth in time to prevent her newborn son from danger? Lisa Turner held her 7-month-old son, Ethan, his small heat anchoring her heart. The Boston skyline blazed beyond her apartment window, dawn tinting the city in soft pinks. As a pediatric ward nurse in Boston General Hospital, Lisa was acquainted with the burden of safeguarding an unsure life. Ethan's soft coos made her heart dance with delight, a precious gift. "Ethan, Mommy will never let anything harm you," she softly told him, leaving a kiss on his forehead. In the kitchen, the scent of brewed coffee blended with frying bacon. Her husband, Mark, was cooking breakfast, his apron slightly awry. A successful environmental consultant, he was a committed father, changing diapers and singing lullabies. "Lisa, my mom called," he stated, flipping a pancake. "She's coming by this afternoon with Rachel." Lisa's smile wavered, her stomach clenched. Karen, Mark's mother, was nice enough, always bearing homemade gifts. But her projects were always subpar. Last month, a sweater for Ethan had mismatched sleeves and a neck too tight to fit. Mark's younger sister, Rachel, was worse, her YouTube popularity inflating her egotism. "She's making bank off her videos," Mark chimed in, shaking his head. "No face, no voice, just stories, $10,000 a month." Lisa's face darkened. Rachel's biting comments usually cut deep, couched as sarcasm but laced with venom. "It'll be fine," Mark said, picking up on her tension. "Mom just wants attention." Lisa nodded, skeptical. She sensed a calculated edge behind Karen and Rachel's smiles. Their friendliness towards Mark disappeared in her presence and was replaced with veiled jabs. 3 p.m. The intercom rang, stern and obtrusive. Lisa composed herself, managing a smile. "Welcome, Karen, Rachel," she said, opening the door. Karen swept past her, clad in designer attire, her perfume strong. Rachel came behind her, her makeup picture-perfect, her attire screaming sophistication. "Lisa, how are you?" Karen asked, her voice too sweet. "Where's my little Ethan?" "He's in the living room, just waking up from his nap," Lisa answered, her tone polite but reserved. In the living room, Karen's eyes widened at Ethan in Mark's arms. "My precious grandson," she cooed, taking him up in her arms like he was the only one she claimed. She brought out a package from her large purse, handing it to Lisa with a proud smile. "It's a special baby blanket that I designed just for Ethan. I worked diligently on it." Lisa thanked her, unwrapping the pastel blue blanket. At first glance it seemed normal, but the texture was odd, stiff patches like dried glue. A faint, chemical-like smell lingered, unsettling her nurse's instincts. "It's a bit tacky, but it suits you," Rachel said, her smile sharp with meaning. Lisa's unease deepened, catching a glance between mother and daughter. "To keep peace," she forced gratitude. "Thank you, Karen." "I'll treasure it." Karen's eyes gleamed, her words heavy. "It's a very special blanket." Lisa's intuition churned, something was wrong. She inspected the blanket more closely, taking in sloppy stitching and that odd smell. Mark spread it over Ethan, paying his mother respect. Lisa's heart yelled, she'd never put it on her son. Once Karen and Rachel left, Lisa folded the blanket up tightly. She planted it deep inside her bedroom closet, hidden behind old sweaters. As a nurse, she believed only in soft, organic cotton blankets for Ethan, safety tested. "I'll get it out when Karen comes by," she said to herself, dismissing her unease. Karen's visits over the next few weeks were strangely frequent. Every time she asked the same question. "Are you using my blanket?" "Does Ethan like it?" Lisa replied evasively, sometimes showing the blanket for a moment. As soon as Karen had departed, it was stashed in the depths of the closet. Her nurse's instincts shouted not to trust it. "Mark, why's your mom so obsessed with that blanket?" Lisa confided one evening. "She just wants her gifts used," Mark said, shrugging. "You're overthinking it." Lisa shook her head, unconvinced. Her gut whispered of hidden intent. A month later, Lisa worked a Friday night shift at the hospital. Mark stayed home with Ethan, diligent but less cautious than her. 2 a.m., Ethan's cries pierced the quiet apartment. Mark diapered the baby, gave him milk, but the baby cried on. He wandered the living room, soothingly rocking Ethan. Ethan suddenly squirmed, vomiting on his blanket. "It's all right, buddy," Mark comforted, taking away the dirty blanket. Rummaging the closet, he discovered no extras on the regular shelf. Burying deeper, he produced Karen's blanket, tucked under clothes. "This'll do," he grumbled, swaddling Ethan in it. The baby settled, sleeping. Saturday morning, Lisa came back, tired but looking forward to seeing Ethan. Mark was in the kitchen, scrambling eggs. "Morning, love," he said with a smile. "How was last night?" "Fine," Lisa said, kissing him. "Ethan spit up, but he's fine," Mark replied. "I need to wash his blanket." Lisa visited Ethan, smiling at his contented sleep. Then her eyes fell on the crib, Karen's blanket. Her heart froze. "Mark, why'd you use this blanket?" Her voice cut. Fear crept in. Mark turned, taken aback. "He puked up, so I took it off the closet." "What's wrong?" Lisa breathed deeply, calming herself. "I've had it away from Ethan. There's something weird about it." Mark furrowed his brow, scratching his head. "You're imagining things. It looks normal." "I'll wash it." He went off to the laundry room. Lisa attempted to intercept him, but fatigue lagged behind. She flopped onto the bed, reassuring herself that Ethan was all right. "Washing the blanket can't possibly hurt," she reasoned. Hours later, a shout awakened her. "Lisa, come quick!" Mark's voice was husky with fear. She ran to the living room where Mark was shaking, clutching the blanket. Her eyes grew wide with horror. The damp-washed blanket showed a hospital logo in harsh red. Biohazard processed and medical waste codes leaped out of the fabric. Lisa's nurse training took over. This was contaminated stuff, possibly poisonous. Her blood went cold. "Mark, this might be hazardous." She picked up her phone, calling her friend Dr. Sarah, a pediatrician. "Sarah, Ethan was swaddled in a blanket labeled medical waste. I need him tested immediately." Mark stood there, stunned, horror on his face. "Did Mom intentionally give us this?" Lisa picked up Ethan, shaking but firm in her voice. "Call Karen. Demand answers." She sped to Boston General, her head racing with anger and fear. The children's ward hummed, even on a Saturday. Lisa, ashamed to confront coworkers, put safety first for Ethan. Dr. Sarah greeted them, her expression cool but stern. "We will do tests right away," she told her, her warmth soothing Lisa. As a nurse, Lisa had encountered hundreds of emergencies. But with her son at risk, her clinical aplomb deserted her. Lisa trembled with shaking hands as she observed Ethan laugh on the examining table in Boston General Hospital. Dr. Sarah, her pediatrician friend, read the preliminary test results, her expression serene but intent. "The contact time was brief, Lisa. No symptoms yet. We've taken blood work as a precaution, but we won't get results until tomorrow. We have to learn more about that blanket's materials." Lisa let out a breath, relief mixed with horror. "Thank you, Sarah. I'm sorry to pull you in on a Saturday." Sarah's frown deepened, her tone stern. "This is serious, Lisa. Where did you get that blanket?" Lisa's jaw clenched. "A gift from my mother-in-law, Karen." Sarah's eyes bulged. "She gave you something like that on purpose?" Lisa's cell phone buzzed, Mark calling. She picked up, her voice calm in spite of her racing heart. "Mark, what's happening?" Mark's voice shook with anger and bewilderment. "I called Mom. She said it was a joke. She told me not to be so angry. I don't understand what kind of joke this is." Lisa closed her eyes, holding onto the phone. "Ethan's okay for now. We're waiting on blood tests. Mark, this is not just cruel, it might be illegal. Mark's tone stiffened with determination. I'm going to Mom's right now. I'll speak to her in person. Lisa nodded, though he couldn't see her. Be careful. She hung up and turned to Sarah, her thoughts whirling. Sarah, we must turn the blanket over to the safety management department at the hospital. Misuse of medical waste is a serious offense. Sarah nodded, her professional demeanor crisp. Absolutely. I'll get it processed for you. Lisa's nursing training kicked in. Karen worked as a nursing assistant at Maine General Medical Center. I want to investigate further. Lisa worked with Sarah to seal the blanket in a sample bag, labeling it for the safety management department. She accessed the database for the hospital, her fingers working the keyboard. Her coworker, Jenna, stood beside her, reading the screen. That code's from Maine General Medical Center, Jenna said, pointing to the blanket's label. It's a disposal tag from 2 years ago. You'd need to call them for more details. Lisa's heart sank. The pieces were clicking together. Karen's past at Maine General wasn't a coincidence. Meanwhile, Mark pulled into the driveway of Karen's upscale suburban home. Rachel's sleek car was parked outside, a bad sign. He knocked hard, his anger barely contained. Karen opened the door, a forced smile on her lips. Mark, what's all the commotion about? Stop acting, Mom, Mark snarled, his voice trembling. That blanket, when we washed it, medical waste labels appeared. Why would you give that to a baby? Karen's expression hardened, but she motioned him in. Come on in, the neighbors will overhear. In the living room, Rachel lounged on a soft couch, painting her nails, looking smug. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said, barely looking up. It's just a blanket. Mark's jaw dropped. Just a blanket? It could have hazardous materials. Ethan's at the hospital being tested. Karen shrugged, her voice cold. If it's so dangerous, the hospital should have managed it better. Besides, your wife always acts like she knows everything. I wanted to knock her down a peg. Rachel smirked, joining in. Lisa's always going on about her nurse expertise. We bet she wouldn't even notice. Mark froze, stunned by disbelief. You risked your son's health, your own grandson, for a bet? Karen's eyes snapped with defiance. I was a nursing assistant for 20 years. I didn't appreciate Lisa belittling my experience. She disregards my advice, my handcrafted presents. I know she stashes them in the closet. Rachel leaned in, her voice mocking. She fancies herself the perfect mom. We wanted to make her squirm. Mark's childhood memories surfaced, Karen's pranks on individuals she didn't like, mean-spirited and small. He'd always turned a blind eye. But no more. This is no joke, he growled, his voice angry. Lisa's reporting this to the hospital. It might be a crime. Karen went white, her hands shaking. A crime. Rachel intervened, her tone piercing. You're gonna report your own mother? Lisa's got you under her spell. Mark glared at his sister, his voice chill. Ethan's safety is what this is about. You don't understand how serious this is. Lisa's tracking down the origin of the blanket, Maine General Medical Center. Karen settled into a chair, her confidence shattered. I just wanted to. Her voice faded, feeble. Wanted to do what? Mark demanded, his rage building. I wanted to hurt Lisa, Karen confessed, sobbing. She thinks she's a better mom than me. She rejects my parenting, my gifts. Mark shook his head, incredulous. So you put my son in danger? His phone rang, Lisa. Mark, it's confirmed, she said, her voice calm but edged with fury. The blanket's medical waste from Maine General. It might have come from an infectious disease ward. The safety department's investigating. We're waiting on Ethan's blood tests. Mark looked at Karen, who covered her face, sobbing. I understand, he said into the phone. I'm coming home. We'll figure this out together. He hung up, his silence heavy. Mom, I'm protecting Lisa and Ethan, he said finally. You'll face the consequences. He left, the door closing with a heavy thud. In the car, he gripped the steering wheel, guilt washing over him. He'd ignored Karen's petty behavior for years. Lisa's instincts had been right all along. The next afternoon, Lisa and Mark sat in their living room, tension thick in the air. Official hospital documents lay on the coffee table. Ethan was with Lisa's parents, safe for now. Lisa's voice was quiet but firm. Ethan's blood tests are negative, thank God. But the blanket had traces of formaldehyde and blood residue. He'll need regular checkups. Mark sighed, his face drawn. What was Mom thinking? Lisa's eyes flashed with bitterness. She wasn't. She doesn't grasp the danger. The doorbell rang, and Mark opened it to attorney Laura Bennett. I'm sorry we're meeting like this, Laura said, her expression serious. She sat, reviewing the documents. This involves 2 issues, she explained. First, a civil matter, your son was put at risk. Second, a criminal matter, unauthorized removal of medical waste. Maine generals launched an investigation. Lisa leaned forward. What are our options? Laura's voice was steady. If Karen deliberately took the waste, she could face charges. You need to decide if you'll press charges. Mark frowned, conflicted. I don't want my mom in jail. I just want her to own this. Laura nodded gently. Think about your goals. Lisa's phone buzzed, Karen's name on the screen. Mark paused, then replied. Mark, it's Mom, Karen said, voice tiny. I've called the family. Can you come to my house tonight? I want to explain. Mark looked at Lisa and Laura, who nodded minimally. Fine, 5 p.m., he told her. He hung up, his jaw clenched. Lisa squeezed his hand. Are you okay? Mark shook his head. I don't know. They went to Karen's house, where they found several cars parked outside. Family had arrived. Ethan stayed safe with Lisa's parents. Lisa's heart hammered as they moved toward the door. Mark's voice was firm, his gaze steady. Yes, we'll do this together. Lisa clenched his hand, her heart racing as they entered Karen's sophisticated Boston residence. The living room was filled with family, Mark's aunt and uncle, cousins, and Karen's sister, Ellen. Karen and Rachel were in the corner, their faces strained, not making eye contact. Thank you all for coming, Karen said, her voice trembling. I have to tell what happened. She started with her account of the blanket mishap, portraying it as a mischievous prank that went awry. Her words distorted the truth, making the perilousness seem less urgent. Lisa seethed. With anger, she couldn't just let this pass. Wait, she stood, calm, assuming her nurse mode. We have to get the facts right. Her words, firm and steady, came out with the facts. The blanket was medical waste from the Maine General Medical Center. Might have borne infectious material, risking Ethan's life. She pulled out hospital test reports from her bag, holding them aloft. This is not only mean, it's reckless. Ethan could have been seriously injured. The room fell silent, the impact of her words manifesting. Ellen, Karen's sister, broke the silence first, her tone somber. Karen, is this true? Karen lowered her gaze, her hands shaking. Rachel opened her mouth to protest, but Ellen held up a hand, stopping her. Karen, this isn't new, Ellen said deliberately. You're done things like that before. The mood in the room changed, tension crackling. Mark stared at Ellen, perplexed. What are you talking about? Ellen breathed deeply, her eyes tragic. Karen's always been one to play jokes on people she dislikes. They began small, little jabs, little tricks, but they became nastier with time. She addressed Mark, her voice gentle but firm. Your dad left because of her antics. He couldn't tolerate her vendettas. She caused problems at work too, rumors, conflict. Family whispered about it, but no one confronted her. Mark sat down in a chair, his face pale. In his memories, his dad had gone out for work reasons. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" he asked, his voice cracking. Ellen's eyes grew soft. "We wanted to protect Karen. But that was a mistake." Karen's tears flowed, her voice barely audible. "I just wanted attention." Lisa turned to the room, her voice firm. "This isn't personal. As a nurse, I had to report this. Maine General Medical Center is investigating." Karen's face was pale. "Are you having me arrested?" Lisa's eyes were steady but firm. "That's not our call. But we have a solution." She explained the solution she and Mark had agreed upon. Karen would have to see professional counseling and work to change. Thin contact would be limited until she made progress. She'd apologize to Maine General and collaborate with any legal action. "This isn't about punishment," Lisa said. "It's about repairing this." Mark stood before his mother. "Mom, I ignored your behavior too long." I didn't trust Lisa's instincts. He turned to Lisa, his regret heavy in his voice. "I'm sorry." And then he turned back to Karen. "Ethan's safety first. No contact until you change." "That's final." Heavy silence clung, the family taking in the ultimatum. Karen's voice was tiny. "I understand." Rachel, sitting to her left, was pale, her smugness gone. "I was wrong too, Lisa," she said softly. "I'm sorry." That night in the car home, Lisa and Mark were quiet. The Boston skyline shimmered, a stark contrast to their heavy hearts. "Thank you," Mark said finally. "You handled this like a pro. You gave Mom a chance to change." Lisa smiled, tired but resolute. "Families are messy. But we've taken the first step. Forgiveness is hard, but responsibility comes first." They drove on, the path ahead uncertain but hopeful. 2 years on, Lisa fitted a small hat onto Ethan's head. "Say cheese, look at Mommy," she shouted, taking a photograph. Ethan's second birthday party filled their backyard with laughter. A brightly colored tent stood beneath Boston's mild spring sky, flowers blooming around it. Mark came out of the kitchen, holding a dinosaur-shaped cake. His smile was broad, his eyes lighter than they had been in months. The last 2 years had changed their family. Lisa's pregnancy had introduced new happiness, a daughter to be born soon. "Guests are here," Lisa stated, hearing the intercom. Her parents came in smiling, followed by Karen, her face tense. At her side was Maria, a social worker, her presence a silent requirement. Karen had visited therapy twice a week, working through her rage and desire for control. Her visits with Ethan were monitored, kept to a minimum but enhanced. "Happy birthday, Ethan," Karen whispered, her old haughtiness vanished. She held out a small box, her hands firm. Mark examined it thoroughly, then nodded. A handmade teddy bear was inside, made of soft, safe cotton. "Did you make this?" Mark exclaimed, taken aback. Karen nodded, blushing. "In a craft class. It's all safe materials." Lisa softened but kept her guard up. Rachel showed up, her flashy wardrobe replaced with a plain dress. Her hostility was gone, replaced by quiet respect. "Lisa, let me know if you need anything," she said, speaking sincerely. She'd left, taken a new job, putting distance from Karen's sphere of influence. Party hummed, Ethan chuckling as balloons floated. Lisa stood at the edge of the garden, thinking through the changes. Mark had become more stern as a father, establishing boundaries. Karen's therapy indicated progress, though slow to build trust. Rachel's change felt genuine, but Lisa was still wary. Mark joined her, his smile soft. "REFL acting on the past 2 years?" Lisa nodded. "It's been a lot." "Karen's trying," Mark said, looking over at his mother playing with Ethan under Maria's care. "But trust takes time." Lisa nodded in agreement. "People can change, but they have to choose it." Mark put an arm around her. Your strength brought us here. You reacted as a nurse, but also as a person. By twilight, the family sat around the cake, singing to Ethan. The blanket was still in the hospital's safety department, locked away. But its consequences had spun new connections, tenuous but developing. Lisa placed her hand on her pregnant belly, hope rising. Car stopped outside, headlights slicing through the dusk. A stranger emerged, clutching an envelope. Lisa's heart fluttered. Was this connected to Karen's history or something more? She shared a look with Mark, their determination unsaid. Whatever lay ahead, they'd meet it together. Real family is founded on trust and responsibility, not blood, and the courage to stand up against evil can ignite real change. Wow, Revenza Tales listeners, wasn't that a roller coaster of betrayal and redemption? Smash that like button, share this epic saga, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more heart-pounding stories.